Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a very warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. I'm your host this evening. As always, my name is Nick Philpott, and joining me this evening, the motley crew, as it was described earlier on, is Ian Lyons. First of all, good evening, Ian. Ian Noble, are you there?
I am. Good evening.
Good evening, mate. I hope you're well.
Very well.
Right, apparently we're going to go again. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Red and Blue Review. And welcome to you all. Ian Noble, I can see you. I hope you're well.
Very well, Nick. Thank you.
Jolly good, and well, thank you for joining us again. Ian Lyons, good evening. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Hope everyone's well out there.
Yeah, on that subject, before we say hello to Grant, because I can't see him at the moment, on that subject, I was wishing somebody well. Graham Kitcher, I know you're watching right now. You're with us right now, and I know you're poorly. So from your family at the Red and Blue Review, sending all our love and I hope you're feeling better soon, mate. Tom Clark Samuel can see you out there in the chat. I hope you're well. Okay, I don't know where our Grant is. Can you see? Is Grant there, boys? Can you see him?
Yeah, Grant.
Can you hear me?
Well, wave to us, Grant, just so you know you're there, but I can't see him. Not to worry. I hope you're well, mate. So this evening, before we start this show, could you all please do one little job for us, okay? Would you hit the like button, hit the share button on Facebook and go to Watch Party. On Watch Party, please share and get as many people on to join us as absolutely possible. Paul Streeter, I can see you. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Don't forget, you can always find us on Twitter, YouTube at any time. So either watch, listen, or download this and all of our previous podcasts. Or simply ask your Alexa device, please play the latest Red and Blue Review podcast, and it will just pop up. Failing all of that, go to redandbluereview.co.uk, and all our back catalogue are on there for you to play with. So, gentlemen, we're going to start off in a minute, if we can, and we'll talk about the game yesterday, of course. We're going to be talking about the pay-per-view, if that's all right with you, and a couple of other bits and pieces coming up this evening. I also want to talk about the amount of contracts that are still waiting to be renewed for next season, because it's going tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. There's a lot of them still to be sorted out. I've seen the press today. I noticed that they're about to start talking to Andros, but that's the only one. Morning from Australia, says Andy Hopper. Marina, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Ian, can you see? Grant, hello, mate. You okay?
All right, yeah.
Good stuff. Can you, Grant, while I'm talking to you, can you see any of the other people popping up and saying hello?
I can.
Can you say hello to? Can you say hello to a few of them for us?
Ian, hello, Ian, hello, Nick, hello.
What was that?
Ian, did you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
No,
I think what it means is, can you read the names off on the right? I can. If you can't read it, Grant, I'll read it.
I can't see.
Charlie Byrne, Max Francis, Marina, Mark Corbett, Neil Chatterjee, a lot of the usual gone. Hello to one and all.
What it means is, can you read the names off?
Okay. Right. Shall we kick off with the lineup, boys? Let's start with this, because there was a couple of lineup shocks that I wasn't expecting. When I did my Philpott player prediction, obviously there was a couple of bits of information that we weren't aware of. I actually I recorded my Philpott's player prediction prior to the manager's press conference, so therefore I wasn't aware of the injuries picked up on Thursday by Joel Ward, who picked up a calf strain. So in goal we had Kouyate, welcoming back Nathaniel Klein, Kouyate, Scott Dan, Mitchell on the left, Townsend, Milivojevic, Riedewald, Schlupp, Batshuayi, and Zaha. Boys, anything that surprised you on that lineup? Ian Noble, I'll start with you. He chose Dan over Sacco. Are you surprised?
No, not at all, really. I think the way Sacco had played in previous games, the Chelsea one in particular, I was pleased to see Scott Dan back. I think he'd obviously been injured. He started the season well, and I think he deserved his recall. I was surprised to see Nathaniel Klein in there from the start, because I think when he announced the team at 2:00, not many people knew that Ward had been injured in training.
No.
And not many people knew that Jimmy Mack had been injured in training. So those were two notable absentees from the starting lineup. So that was the surprise, really. Delighted to see Jairo Riedewald start. I'm sure we'll talk about his performance later on. But no, they were the main surprises for me.
Grant, as Ian just touched on there, Macca out again through a small, I think he said shin strain during training on Thursday. Would you have put Milivojevic in, or would you go with another option?
Good question. Luca, for me, he's not Luca at the moment. He hasn't been for a little while. But he did okay yesterday. I think Roy probably played it a bit coy there. Roy was coy. But it worked. It did work. Who I put in the middle? He said probably somebody who put the goal in the back of the net, really. But no, I think it worked well.
So, I mean, the option there, of course, would have been to play Sacco alongside Dan and push Kouyate forward into the middle of the park. But
I'll shake my head on that one. I think he played it right. We could all pick a team before a match, but Roy knows Fulham, didn't he, quite well. He knows the club. He knows Scott very well. I think he chose the team.
Lionsy, he just said we could all pick a team before the game. Well, clearly I can't, can I? Because I've got that one.
Well, I know, but what I would say is you braved the elements for the fan base out there, and everyone was so grateful. And it's nice to see your garden looking still nice and tidy.
Thank you.
With regards to the changes that were made, well, clearly they were enforced. I think we'll probably go to talk on about it a bit more in a minute. But Klein, he had a good game. I think that's good competition there. We've clearly got competition at centre back. I understand what you're saying about potentially moving Kouyate into the middle because he's been pretty much faultless for most of the season. But we all know that Roy doesn't like to change things if he doesn't have to. So, I'm in total agreement with Grant as to the way Luke has been playing, not just the start of this season, but, the end of last season as well. And hopefully it'll be the kick up the backside he needs because we all know that he's a good player. He's just out of sorts at the minute. But then I guess that's the beauty of the strength and depth we have currently.
Grant?
That's interesting, Ian, what you just said there about the kick up the backside, because that's what I saw yesterday when I saw Luca. He looked like he knew this was his time to shine, if you like. Very disappointed when he didn't get that free kick anywhere near the goal. You could see in his face, it's like, oh, bleep, that's it. You could see he was under pressure yesterday, pressure from himself, I think. But it might be the kick up his backside that he needs.
It's interesting, boys, you're talking about...
Kicked up the backside.
No, we're talking about Kouyate because Andrew Adams and a couple of Mark Corbett are both saying that he was class yesterday. Well, Mark was saying in the chat just a minute ago, what a bargain he's turned out to be. What did we pay for him? 10 million quid or something? 10 million quid. Same as Kelly. We pulled West Ham pants down, weren't you, boys?
Oh yeah, they know it. They know it. Sorry,
I'm sorry, Tompkins. You're quite right.
Yeah, I mean they know it. They know it both with Kouyate and with Tompkins. Is that that they've let players go on the cheap. Tompkins is a little different in that he's always been a little bit of a sick note, but when he plays, he's like a Rolls Royce, isn't he? He's worth every penny. But Kouyate is just worth his weight in gold at the minute.
On the lineup, boys, there's one person none of you have mentioned. None of you have suggested bringing Eze in for anybody. I think we have an issue somewhere along the lines. I don't know actually how we're going to play the guy. Okay, we've got a £20 million player sitting on the bench. Boys, how do we accommodate Ebrieze? Ian Noble.
Sorry.
I think he needs to be patient. Obviously, he's a young lad. He's gone up a step in class from the Championship. When he does come on, he needs to take his chance. He didn't do badly in his cameo yesterday, to be fair. But, it's a long season. The games have come thick and fast and people will get injured and suspended. So he'll get his chance for sure. But I think at the moment, I'd go with Roy in terms of his selection yesterday. I wouldn't have started Eze from the beginning. Who'd you drop? Schluppy? Schluppy maybe is the one where it makes way. I wouldn't drop Townsend. So I think Eze, he'll get his chance for sure.
You didn't mention Jairo then either. You
Didn't hear it.
then?
No, I didn't hear you again. One more time, Grant.
I just saying Ian didn't mention Jordan. Then Jordan, no, he didn't.
Yeah, it's another one, of course. It's good. It's good to have the options, isn't it, guys? It's good to have that strength in depth and the options. And our bench hasn't looked as strong for a long time, has it? You look at that bench yesterday, and that's with people like Jimmy Mack and Waldy and Ayew missing. So some of those are going to not make the match day squad, which is unreal.
Well, boy, Ian Noble, you don't know what this actual segment's going to be. Ian Lyons does, okay? I'm glad you just touched on it because that's exactly what I wanted to go to. Ian Lyons, I'm coming to you next, okay? What we've got as a squad depth, Mitchell and PVA, Ward and Klein, Jairo and Luca, the centre-back competition that we just highlighted, 4 or 5 of them. We've got some serious competition.
On the wings.
Yeah,
you've got competition on the wings. You've got 4 wingers now. You've got Eze, Townsend, Zaha, and Ayew. Okay, so they're all competing. The only place we haven't got any competition is up front.
Yeah,
because
you could argue we've got competition up front. You've still got Benteke. Don't write Benteke off just yet. You've still got Jordan Ayew to come back in. He's started the season, but he's been missing.
Ayew's not a striker. He's a winger.
Oh, I don't know. He scored 10 goals last season.
But that's because we were relying on him to do that. He was shoved up front when actually he's better as a winger. Don't get me wrong. He did really well, but he is not a striker.
Before I forget, good evening to Tim down in New Zealand. Simon Philpott, hello mate. Miko, Brett Kemp, I can see you out there. Lee Lockwood, Summer, guys, thank you, each and every one of you, wherever you're watching. I literally mean all over the planet. So thank you for joining us. I mean, it was something, Ian Lyons, this is something we were discussing certainly 12 months ago, maybe even longer than that. The problem with Palace has been we've never had quality backup in all positions, on a 24-man, 25-man squad. We've never had it. We are as close to it now as I've ever been in my lifetime as a Palace fan. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think in the majority of places, definitely, without a shadow of doubt. But obviously, with the strength in depth and with the lack of injuries, as more players come back to being full fitness, it creates a different set of issues for someone like Roy. And I think it may well be, and actually, rather than being a positive, it may be a weakness because you may find that a number of players become unsettled because he doesn't like making any changes. And it'd be interesting to see if he's still around, how he actually manages that moving forward. Because I don't think we've already seen the likes of Max Meyer, one of our top 2 or 3 technically gifted players.
Yeah.
It's the first mention of him. We've gone through so many other players and yet we've not even mentioned him. I think there's going to be a number of changes. I mean, you're going to go on to talk about people that are out of contract, and I think maybe they'll manipulate the squad moving forward with regards to who they keep and who they don't keep. Very
briefly, Grant Saunders, do you reckon we've seen the last of Max Meyer as Lyons has just brought him up? Is there a place for him anywhere, can you see?
Well, there is a place for him, isn't there? But he's where he's second, third, second. I don't know. I probably off in January for himself. He was a link with the club just prior to the window being open. I can't remember who it was now. Can anyone remember?
No.
Matt.
Schalke, was it?
Well, no, he came from Schalke, didn't he? I love him. I think he's a great player. Like Ian said, one of the top gifted players in the squad on the payroll. But how's he going to get in? How is he going to get in? I mean, I don't know how hungry these players nowadays are to actually play. In our day, us old bastard people, bleep, you have passion, you wanted to play for your club. But nowadays, it's just a job, isn't it? It's just, they go and collect their money if they play the game. I just don't get the passion. And maybe he'll want to go, maybe he's just happy sitting as a squad player.
Brett's saying he's too lightweight for the Premier League. Listen, I want to move, while you're on there, Grant,
Nick,
I just want...
With his salary, we ain't going to hold on to him.
No, agreed.
And I don't think we need to, do we? If you look at the other strength and depth we got in midfield, we don't need him, to be honest with you. So yeah, there we go. And we haven't spoken about Jairo. Like, I put a tweet out this morning. Jairo redeveloped appreciation tweet. How good did he look yesterday and last week?
Yeah.
He looks every inch a £25 million plus player. And there's attitude for you, because he's had to bide his time, hasn't he? He's been at the club, 3 years? And he's only just got his chance to start. And he looks sublime. And for me, is the first name on the team sheet along with Wilf.
I don't know if Grant agrees with this, but for me, he is and has been, since he's been here, our most technically gifted player. His balance and his ability to pick a pass with both feet is head to head. You know, the amount of passes that we see standard passes.
Ian, you're lagging, mate. Ian, just drop out a second. You're lagging. It's funny that even Lucy is saying in the chat that Jairo was absolute class this week. Oh, she said he was solid this week. While we're waiting for Ian to pop back on again, guys, I wanted to talk about and move the topic on, and we will do the game in a minute, folks. Okay, we're going to talk about the match in a minute. I just wanted to talk about before the match and the paying for the match, the pay-per-view scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching this out on Facebook Land right now live, also on Grant's page, which is the Eagles Have Landed. If you are a member of Grant's page on the Eagles Have Landed page, he's running a live poll, and in front of him right now, he has the results going as we speak, and on screen in front of him. So, Grant, could you very kindly just tell everybody what the options were on your poll, please?
Yeah, I ran a poll just because I'm nosy, and I was a bit sort of open about before it happened. I thought some matching the noise. I just wanted to know who paid for the match, who succumbed to getting the PPV, and who didn't. So it's a yes or no answer. For the no's, I said no, or no, I watched it on a stream, and no, I watched it on Match of the Day. And I've had a good response. Well over 300 people so far have ticked a box, and 96% they did not go PPV. They wouldn't pay it, which is quite strong. And of that, no, 54% watched it on a stream, like a lot of us might have done. 25% watched it with old jug ears, and 21% just said no. And a lot of people were saying they went to the pub, they went down a mate's house, etc., to watch it because they had it. So I think within the no's, there's a lot of shared watching around people's houses. But it's dark. It's 26% did not want to go PPV.
Quite right. So, and ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook Land, can I ask you the same question? Did you stream it, yes or no? Okay, and if it was a no, did you pay PPV, yes or no? And if you didn't do it, how did you watch the game? Just one word in the chat. Can we do a quick straw poll between the four of us, and I'll kick it off, whether we did or we didn't. And then Ian Noble, I'm coming to you for the latest news on this subject. It was a no from me. Ian Lyons, yes or no?
No from me.
Grant?
No.
Ian Noble, over to you.
No, I watched it on His Goals, which is free.
Yeah.
But one of the downsides about watching it on the stream, which is about 45 seconds behind, is that we've got the ball in our penalty area. My phone's pinging saying, get in, Jairo. And I'm watching. And then 45 seconds later, we go up the other end of score, which is lovely. Lovely to see. Awful when it works the other way. So I'll turn my phone off after that.
Rookie. Always turn on.
Yeah, and now you're lagging, Grant. So, Ian, before the show, I sent you that link. If you can do that link, if you'd be so kind.
Okay, so this is from the Mail. So take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, maybe. But this is what it says: Sky Sports and BT Sport want to scrap Premier League's controversial pay-per-view scheme, charging fans £14.95 a match after fans complain about the pricey service. Both Sky and BT are open to scrapping the controversial scheme. England, we know they charge £14.95 per match. And the scheme has been slammed by fans. We know about that for a variety of reasons, from lack of analysis coverage in the service to the idea of forking out even more money on top of TV football subscriptions this season. A lot of people that have been asked to pay as well are people like us that go to the games normally. And, I've invested in Sky and BT Sport because I can't be there. And now, having invested in Sky and BT Sport, I still can't watch my team. it's just a kick in the proverbials. So a lot of supporters, starting with Newcastle, but Liverpool, and I know they've done it at Palace as well, recommended that $14.95 went to the local food bank, which is fantastic. It is a brilliant charity. I'm a trustee of our local trust food bank, so I know about food banks, and that's very much appreciated on behalf of food banks. So fans around the country were reacting, saying they weren't going to pay it, and the TV companies are now saying we're embarrassed by this, and therefore we're considering scrapping the scheme. Great
news. Yes, Grant.
Why bring it in the first place? Surely you're going to be embarrassed by it. Surely the people are going to speak with their money.
Mr. Lyons?
I think the reason is that it wasn't actually BT or Sky that wanted to do this in the first place. It was the Premier League. And I think they're the ones that see us all as a massive cash cow. And for once, I'll probably err on the side of caution and say, look, Sky and BT are right. They're worried about the effect it's having on their brands at the minute. I mean, following on from the article that Ian's just read out, I just did a quick search for some, latest news articles on it all. And apparently the Liverpool-Sheffield United game has generated 100 grand for food banks. The Leeds Villa game, 40 grand for food banks. And all of those, both of those followed the initial one that the Newcastle fans set up, which was 20 grand. That's like, it's 160 grand straight there for a far, far better cause.
Guys, I think our work here is done. Yeah, absolutely, Ian. Our work here is done. I'm reading the chat now. Miko saying he put $14.95 to the food bank, and many other people did. I actually watched it with Tim Richards live in New Zealand yesterday. I won't tell you how we did it, but thanks to Ian Lyons for sorting it out. It was fine. I mean, I think we were a little bit behind it because it was on a dodgy thread somewhere, but it was fine. We saw the game. I saw every kick of the game. I might have been 45 seconds behind the rest of the planet, but it doesn't matter. Yes, Grant.
I was watching it on Hes Goal, and I then came across Nick and joined you with Tim. And Tim was streaming it to us through their live TV over there, and it was actually reaching us here 30 seconds before stream was, Nick. We were more or less live on Tim's one.
And it had gone via New Zealand, yeah?
Yeah. Broadcast from New Zealand to the UK, and we got it. We were watching it quicker than you guys were watching it here in the UK on a dodgy feed, and that's exactly how it was.
It was a TV program being streamed to us.
Yeah, right. Nigel Crouch is asking a really valid question in the chat. A really valid question, and Nigel, I don't have the answer to what you just said. Okay, and he asked the question: how much has the Norwood Food Bank raised through what we've just done, or what the Palace faithful have done? So it's not us. The HF have got to take credit for it, and some of the other Palace fan groups out there. I don't know the answer, Nigel. In fact, I've been keeping my eye on social media to see if I can find it. I know that they tweeted out themselves. The food bank themselves tweeted out earlier in the week that they've had a huge uptake. It doesn't matter really if it is one person. Okay, Mika, for example, they're 15 quid better off than they were the week before. I reckon there'll probably be, I don't know, upwards of 100 people. I'm guessing. I'm absolutely guessing. Right, should we do? Who wants to talk about? Yes, Grant. Go on. Then we'll move on to the game.
Question to Ian. As a trustee, can you tell us what that sort of money can do?
It's a big question, Grant. But yes, you've got an increasing number of families in all kinds of areas, especially in rough, tough areas like South London or Merseyside or in a city, Newcastle, that really cannot afford at the moment to buy food because they've been furloughed, because they've lost their jobs, because their benefits have been delayed. And therefore, that enables food banks to go out and buy the food. And what food banks do is they buy 3 days' worth of emergency food for their clients. And either people come to the centres to collect it or it's delivered to their homes. And people qualify. The food banks don't decide whether to give the food out. Food banks get vouchers that are referred to them from social workers, from Citizens Advice and places like that, other agencies that make an assessment on people's lives about whether they can or can't afford to buy food or not. I'm privileged to be a trustee. I also volunteer, so I deliver food. About once a fortnight, I go out and about in Sussex delivering food at people's houses, and it's very difficult to not judge people, I suppose. And I always say I'm not judging this person at all, but some of the places we deliver to are quite nice houses, but it's because people have been ill, they've lost their jobs or whatever, and they might have an asset, but they just haven't got the money to buy food, put food on the table for their families. So it gives you a bit of background to it. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you, Ian. And also well done to James Convoy, who volunteers for the New Addington one as well. Somebody else is in the chat this evening. John Lyons, hope you're well, mate, and hope little one is doing well. And of course, we don't, on the subject of streams, we don't condone anybody using illegal streams. So it's your own personal choice. Just be very careful. Right, talking about the game. Let's move on to the game a little bit. So possession, 66%. Palace 34%. Fulham had 16 attempts on goal. We had 14. Fulham had 3 on target. We had 10. Ian Lyons, I'm coming to you on the 10. Corners 4 each. Fouls 11 each. Yellows 1 each. And of course, they had a late red card. So on target shots, so there's the most Palace have had in a long time. There was a stat out on social media somewhere. Can't remember what it was. Better performance, or were we just papering over the cracks? Ian Lyons.
I don't know. I don't really know whether it's a better. I think you've got any performance has to be judged on the opponents you're playing against, and we were playing the worst team in the league. Hence the title of the show notes, papering over the cracks. Because for me, are we happy? I know that. Andros had a good game. Wilf had a good game. We had, going back to the shots, it was 10 shots we had, right? There was most shots taken by Palace under Hodgson. 10 shots, right? Which equals the 10 shots we had against Fulham in 2018. So it's not exactly a fantastic stat, is it? But what I would say is you can only beat the team that's in front of you. We did that. And let's make sure that we actually, keep the good form going into the next game. But I'm not convinced by the performance yesterday. I still think a lot of people will be happy by it. We got 3 points. We're on 10 points already, which is great. But we need to have our feet on the ground and being realistic about the teams we're playing.
Quite right, Ian Noble. They hit the woodwork a couple of times before we scored. But talk us through the Jairo goal. Jairo's first ever shot on goal in a Palace shirt. Okay, 1 shot, 1 goal. Talk us through it.
Well, the ball got knocked forward, did it, from our own half. Can't remember who played it now. Someone from the back. Luca played it. Yeah, good ball to the left side for Wilf to take it on. He looked good in the box. He looked tricky, 1-on-1. A good shot on target, which the keeper did well to save. The ball bounces back out again. Comes to, I can't remember, somebody else. One little 1-2 Wilf. I think it was Torrey Mitchell passed it to him before he put a nice little reverse pass through to Jairo. Jairo covered an awful lot of ground. He was deep into our own half when Luca played the ball. So he's a defensive midfield player, but he saw the opportunity and he was in the right place at the right time. Great finish, 8 minutes, 1-0. No arguments. But Wilf made the goal, obviously got the assist, and it was all about Wilf, that goal. Nice finish from Jairo, but it was all about Wilf.
Ian?
I mean, it's important to note, in no small part, the pass from Mitchell as well. We've discussed on here over the last few weeks the quality this boy has at picking a pass out as a defender. And I think it's not to be underestimated. I agree with Ian. It was a fantastic reverse pass from Wilf as well into the path of Riedeveld, who at a point that Mitchell got the ball wasn't even in the frame. You couldn't see him anywhere. And I'm thinking, well, how's he going to get from out of shot to where he gets? But, it was a fantastic third man run and a good finish on his left foot.
Grant, your thoughts? Because, it was, I'm delighted for the lad. I think he must. even though there's no crowds in the stadium at the moment, clearly, okay, I think Riedewald must be feeling the love. He must go on social media and listen to what the Palace fan base is saying about him at the moment. Your thoughts on Jairo, please?
He does do that. It's the first one. His run was sublime, but I'm going to go back to Will first of all, because it was Wilf's desire that got that goal, really. And that reverse pass was fine. But for Jairo to have that vision, he came across literally from the penalty spot, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, you could happening the game from where we were, from miles and miles away. You could see what was happening. And but he just took it like a natural striker, didn't he? He really did. And go back to about 10, 15 minutes ago, we were saying about one of the most gifted, naturally gifted players. He proved it.
Yeah. So he showed yesterday what he didn't show against Brighton, and I think to the Palace fan base, that's the most infuriating part about it. Somebody said, somebody was talking about that reverse ball through to Jairo on social media, and somebody on Twitter, a Palace fan on Twitter, said, what makes me laugh is that the rest of the nation are only waking up to see these special things every now and again. We see it every week. Sadly, Ian Noble, we don't see it every week, do we? Because like the game against Brighton, he wasn't at the races.
No, he wasn't. I don't think any of the team were at the races against Brighton, to be fair. Maybe one or two exceptions. We didn't play well. It was a bad day. We need to move on from that. I'm a bit more upbeat than you, Lindsay. I think we played a lot better yesterday than we did in previous weeks. Yes, you can only beat the team in front of you. But Fulham, they're no mugs. I think we've already said, they hit the post twice. They'll get out of trouble, I think, Fulham. I think they've got enough quality there. And it's only the other week they went up to Wolves and only lost 1-0, narrowly. So I think it was a good win yesterday. And 2-1 flattered Fulham. They got the goal in the 95th minute. It was a worldie. The offside was a little bit unlucky for our third. We should and could have had more goals if we're a little bit more clinical in front of goal. But it was a good win, and don't knock it. I think it was a significant step up, and I was greatly encouraged by it, to be fair.
Well, I mean, just putting some meat on the bones of what you just said, Ian. They had 3 on target, 2 of which hit the post and 1 they scored with. So, I think you're right. It flattered them. So, Ian Lyons, your thoughts, please. We're praising Wilf, we're praising Jairo, and rightly so. I really want to talk now, if you don't mind, about 2 other performances. How do you think Batshuayi got on? How do you think Andros got on yesterday?
Well, firstly, I'll hold my hands up. I didn't watch it. I was playing yesterday, so I only caught what was actually on the 6 minutes of Match of the Day. But again, from what I've seen, is that Andros and Batshuayi have had really good games. I mean, Batshuayi had a relatively quiet game up front on his own against Brighton, but he got one chance and then stuffed it into the roof of the net, and that was from a pass from Riedewald as well. But yesterday, it's good to see. Townsend and Batshuayi were involved in Wilf's goal anyway. So again, it was a lovely little passing to Batshuayi, who then takes on the fullback, puts it across the goal, which is exactly what we've been missing. And also what we've been missing is people attacking the box, the 6-yard box. And Wilf, bravely got in there, scored his 5th goal of the season, which is already more than he got last season. And it's good to see. It is good to see. Batshuayi is a quality player. Townsend is picking up. He fell off form towards the end of last season, but he's come back and he's getting stuck in. But again, it probably comes back to the competition thing. He knows he's got Eze, who, by all accounts is ripping it up in training, but Hodgson's not going to drop anyone that's playing well at the minute. So Eze's going to have to continue doing that. Ayew, okay, I don't think he's going to oust either Wilf or Andros at the minute, so he's going to have to bide his time as well. But it's good. Competition's good, and we've got players with the right mentality at the minute, and that's what you want as a team. You win together, you lose together, no matter what team you're in. And at least we seem to have the right mentality at the minute.
And by the way, one thing I did forget to mention earlier in the show was when we talk about competition. Of course, we've got Jack Butland when he gets over his COVID issue. giving Kouyate a bit of a push. Grant Saunders, I want to come to you because we've spoken about some of our outstanding players. One player I was ultra disappointed in yesterday, and I want to talk to you about him because you saw him a couple of seasons ago. Ruben's Loftus-Cheek. I hardly even heard him mentioned during the game yesterday.
Nick, I was really pleased you mentioned it because I've been sort of, so I put my hand up about him. When you see his name come up on the sheet, you just naturally think bleep, 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 don't you? Because you know how great he was for us and him in a red and blue shirt. But where was he? I saw him on the team sheet. I didn't actually see him on the pitch. I didn't get it. Was he a lost man? Don't know.
Yeah. Whereas Lookman had a great game, didn't he? You know, their boy Lookman. He was the one that hit the post twice.
Yeah.
And look, the real deal, to be fair, you know. I think he started off at Charlton, didn't he, Lookman?
He's had 2 great games since he's been back. He went from Charlton to Everton, then over to Germany, and then he's come back, hasn't he? Because we were after him, weren't we? Or we were interested in.
I like the look of him. But I just want to make a point. Tim Richards makes a good point in the chat. He says that Wolves will be a good test next week to see how far we've come. And I think he's right. I watched the Wolves-Newcastle game this afternoon, and I didn't see anything in that Wolves side that frightened me at all. I think we can match them up there next week. We beat them 2 years ago. We lost at the end of last season when we go through that torrid time. But it will be a good test for us next week up there, and I think Tim's right.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll come on to the Wolves game a little bit later on. Anything else from the first half, boys? Any other highlights? So we went in 1-0 at half time. Who wants to talk us through Will's goal?
Well, I think we touched on the fact that Townsend, it was a move down the right, wasn't it? Townsend plays it through to Batshuayi, batsman, and it was a good ball into the box, a dangerous ball, low and hard. And Wilf was very brave, I thought. Clearly he hurt himself. He knew he was going to hurt himself if he was going to get on the end of that. It looks a simple goal, but it was an effective goal, and it was a well taken goal. But Wilf was brave. Made me laugh. Old young Mitchell, he was like patting his leg, wasn't he? When everyone else was trying to congratulate him, and Mitchell was like rubbing his leg better for him.
Any other thoughts on the goal, Grant?
I was just going to echo something that Mr. Lyon said earlier on, that we talked about Andros and also the Batman. I was watching the match and I was thinking about looking at players and what they say this evening, and every single time he's just come up more and more about Andros and the little things he does, the runs and the balls he puts across. It's just great. And he started that second goal. I mean, he gave it to the Batman, and the Batman again was desire. I'm not going to score, but I'm going to put it into a position that someone can score. And he put a proper ball in for someone to knock it over the line. Not just a hit anywhere. He did it great. It's how many superlatives can you use? I was really impressed with that yesterday.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how strikers are the ones that put the best balls in? The ones they should be. The ones they should be on the end of.
They know what they want, don't they? They know what they want.
Yeah.
What it actually does, Grant, it actually validates your very good point about the competition thing. Andros has really stepped up to the plate, and he really is. So far, I don't think he's had a particularly bad game. All right, none of them were great last week, but I think Andros has really stepped up to the plate because he knows chumping at the bit, right, ready to go for him, is Ezzy in the background. And I think your point is extremely well made. Okay, so they had chances, we had chances, but unfortunately, once again, we didn't actually put them on. We didn't put the Fulham away. We could have we should have scored more, and we certainly could have scored more. Who wants to talk us through the great strike, which was the Fulham consolation goal?
Damien Delaney versus Liverpool.
Yeah.
Not really. It was a good hit. Move on.
Tom, I tell you, Kenny's a good player. I mean, he's gone off the boil lately, but he can strike. I think Aito might be a little disappointed to have been beaten for so far out, but you cannot deny it was a Swede. But this is the problem, and this is still something nagging in the back of my mind, is that we're going to have to score 2 goals to make sure that we're going to get something out of games, even against the poorest team in the league, because something like that will happen against us.
Indeed. Okay, Laurie Scott's asked in the chat, boys, does Kleiny keep Ward out for now on yesterday's performance?
No.
Really? Even so, Grant, it looks like you have the deciding vote on that.
Asking the question again.
Does Kleiny keep Wardy out on yesterday's performance?
No, I can't be on this point. But, I'm on the emotional vote. No, he doesn't. But on yesterday's vote, yes, he's going because Roy doesn't change the team, does he?
Roy doesn't change.
You can't say that. He's had 70 minutes. It's his first 70 minutes in 17 months. Okay, it's great that we had him there to come in as backup. But another option is Tariq Mitchell at right back. Now, I must confess, I didn't watch the last 15 minutes very closely because I'd lost the stream, right? So I thought, I'm not losing the stream. This is too important. So I put 5 Live on, and I'm listening to it on 5 Live and watching the pictures without the sound on. But then I picked up the fact that PVA comes on, Kleiny goes off, and Mitchell moves to right back. So someone that watched the game with the sound on, how did Mitchell do it right back? Was there anything there that could suggest that he plays right back going forward?
Well, we already knew that Mitchell has played and right back for the under-23s. He's a little bit of a utility player, a little bit like Ferguson when he comes in, because of course don't forget we got him to step up. He didn't put a foot wrong. In fact, he hasn't put a foot wrong all season, in my opinion. Lionsy, go for it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I was going to say exactly that. Ferguson's in the wings. I know he won't be ready for a couple of months yet. He's back training, but also PVA. How's he going to oust Mitchell at the minute? Because Mitchell for me is a better defender. He's maybe not as good attacking wise, but then he's a better defender, and I think that's where you build your base from. And he's a far better passer of the ball as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to get PVA back into things. Looks like he's carrying a bit of timber. It's been off for a while. Does he really want it? He's coming to the end of his contract, isn't he? So other clubs sniffing around him. Are we just going to get rid of him?
It's quite interesting because I see history repeating itself here. You've got the PVA and Mitchell thing. How does one oust the other one when he's playing so well, youngster? And a couple of seasons ago, we had exactly the same thing with Ward and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka came in as a late injury replacement, and Ward couldn't displace him either. It's a bit of history replacing it itself again.
See, with Wan-Bissaka, he played very, very well, didn't he, at right back? And I'm not decrying Kleiny. I thought he did okay yesterday for 70 minutes. But Ward doesn't lose his place on the back of those 70 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
He might not be ready though next week.
He might not be. If he's not ready, then Nathaniel Klein plays again, surely. All I'm saying, if Ward is fit, if Wardy is fit and available for selection next Friday night, he plays at right back for me. Because he had the shirt, and he hasn't done much wrong this season. To be fair, all right, he made a mistake with the Brighton goal, but he hasn't done lots wrong. So that's my view, guys.
They're waiting for the test results to come through on the scan on his shin, I believe. So, and the same with Macca as well. Very strange that they both picked up the same injury. So the final result then, Craven Cottage was Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 2. I think we'll draw a line under the game if you don't mind, guys. I want to move on to another subject. Ian and Noble and Grant Saunders, you're not going to be aware of this, but I want to talk about missed opportunities, if you don't mind. I can't believe I'm telling you this, but Patrick Bamford scored a hat-trick in the Premier League. Alexander Sorloth banging them in for fun. What is it with our coaching staff? Okay, open question to you all. What is it with our coaching staff that we cannot seem to tie down a success, and we continue to stick on with somebody like Christian Benteke, bless his heart? Ian Lyons, I'm coming to you first.
Right, forget Bamford. Bamford was woeful with us, and Bamford was woeful pretty much everywhere else, even for Leeds until last season. What's happened is he's found a manager that plays a system that suits him, and this is exactly why Sorloth didn't fit in. We were saying it again 14, 18 months ago. Sorloth is a player. Give him a chance. But the way Hodgson plays, we can have Jesus up front, but he won't get enough service. And I think this is
it'll be great on the cross, though.
Okay, fair enough. I left the crosses part out. I mean, you just filled it in, right? But you know what I mean. I mean, Benteke could go to Arsenal and score 20 goals a season. You know, it's all about players fitting systems. Now, we had a player in Sorloth. We messed up the deal to let him go.
The loan, yeah.
And you know, I don't think there's any need to look longingly thinking, why didn't he score goals for us? The answer is Roy Hodgson. End of story.
Well, Bamford wasn't here when Roy Hodgson was here. Bamford
No, I'm
was here
talking
when
about
Pardew was manager. But with
I'm talking about
Bamford, and every Palace fan I've spoken to agrees with me here, he is probably the worst striker I've ever seen in red and blue, and I've seen some bad ones. Okay, down the years. He was woeful, absolutely dreadful. So something's happened, and Lindsay, you hit the nail on the head. It's this Leeds manager. Sorloth, on the other hand, I don't think the two are the same, because Sorloth, he scored goals for fun in Turkey. It's like scoring goals for fun in League One or League Two, guys.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
It really is. And if you've seen that Neil Warnock clip on Sky Sports, if you haven't seen it, Google it. It's the funniest thing ever. Because Richard Keys says Crystal Palace has scored 24 goals this season. Alexander Sorloth has scored 24 goals this season. And Neil Warnock says, but if you'd seen him, you can't blame Palace for that, because if you'd seen him, you would have played yourself. You know, Warnock just, he cracks me up. And then he said at one stage it was between him and the kit man. And this is Warnock taking the piss. And it's brilliant. Google it if you haven't seen it. It's really funny. So point I'm making is that Sorloth scored his goals for fun in a league far below the Premier League. And I absolutely don't think he'll cut it at the top level. And we found out in Germany. There you go.
Very interesting point right there, Ian. Thank you, Grant. I'm coming to you now. Laurie Scott has just said Sorloth has not scored since his transfer to Germany. So you are spot on, Mr. Noble. Grant Saunders.
Yeah,
How many times have you played?
When you talk about the players scoring goals at a certain level, I saw Bamford score a hat-trick for Palace. We were playing Bromley away pre-season. There you go. You found your level.
But it's Turkish league level. Anybody else got any thoughts on it? Trevor Aylock, somebody said.
Trevor Aylock, yeah.
Rudy Hedman.
I've forgotten about him.
Rudy Hedman. I'm sure we've got a load. Sonogo.
Oh, blimey, Sonogo. Wow.
We have had our share, haven't we, guys? We have been
Yeah, we have had, yeah. You're right.
Interesting point.
But ironically, normally it's the other way around. Normally that we pick up players that have not necessarily played well at other clubs, and they do well with us. It's just this way, you know. Those two particular. I mean, I wouldn't even. I think the Bamford thing is a flash in the pan anyway. But the Sorloth thing, we had a player there, I think, and I'd be interested to see. You can't judge him over the first few games at a new club, new surroundings, and everything else. I think you've got to judge him over the course of the season. But
cool. Grant Saunders, can you give us a live update on your page's poll, please, mate?
I've just updated it. Yes, the people who did the pay-per-view, it's just crept over 4%. It's 4.23%. Who didn't go for 95.77%. There you go.
And I have to say, don't forget, in all seriousness, I know he's booing you. Okay, don't take any notice of him. It is your own freedom of choice. That's what we do. That's what we are. It's a freedom of choice. So, one other subject. Yeah, go on, Grant.
And I donated my £14.95 to a food bank.
I'm delighted to hear it. Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, the other subject we touched on before anybody else started bringing a subject up, and I did notice one or two of the other podcasts started talking about it after we did, is the concern I've got about next June 21. Now, in front of me here is the updated list of the one that we were speaking about. Ian, when did we do the out of contracts? Was it 6 months ago? More than that? 10 months ago?
Well, blimey, yeah. I think we've been doing it ad infinitum, haven't we?
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see that I've actually updated the list as of today. Okay, and I don't like to worry anybody, but 17 out of our senior squad, 17 are out of contracts come the 30th of June 2021. Quick, I know some of you are laughing at the second one. Kouyate, Hennessy, and I don't think we'll ever see Hennessy play for us again, Henderson. So 3 of the goalkeepers are out of contract, that only would leave Jack Butland. I know Sacco, Gary Cahill, Sam Woods, PVA, Mitchell, worryingly. Tyrick Mitchell is up. Nathaniel Klein, obviously. Joel Ward, Martin Kelly, James MacArthur, Jeffrey Schlupp, Max Mayer, Andros Townsend, Christian Benteke, and Connor Wickham. Now, you could argue 5 or 6 of those are players that a lot of the fan base will be happy to move on. Okay, if somebody's going to buy them, are they going to buy them? Are we going to get any money for them? Are we going to let them all go on free? Christian Benteke cost us 27 million quid. If we don't do something with his contract very shortly, he's going to walk. He's going to walk on a free. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that from January, if contract negotiations haven't opened with Benteke and all of those players I've just mentioned, they can start talking to, or their representatives can start talking to other clubs in January. They can't sign for anybody else, but they can actually start talking to them in January. Boys, what do we do about all these players? I mean, we are running out of time. We're talking about Christmas already now, and this is June next year we're talking about. Who wants to kick off?
Okay, we're bringing some young blood through now, aren't we? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
that's called letting it hang. We're bringing some young blood. I don't know how much more we've got to bring through and how much time we can take to actually start to bring them through. Because you can't just start next season with a whole load of new faces who are young, depending on the division you're in. So, yeah, it's a worry, Nick, especially some of the names you brought up, because they're some key players. But you're right. There's a lot of players there you've named who, yeah, we'd like to see the back of. And I think a lot of them, we're going to, well, not a lot of them, but some of them we're going to just have to take the hit, aren't we? And we've spent a lot of money on a certain few players, and we spend a lot of money on a weekly basis on a certain few players.
Well, I'm being corrected in the chat. Grant, I'm being corrected in the chat, and I don't know whether this is accurate because if Graham Daniels is saying in the chat that Schlupp and MacArthur have both renewed their contracts, well, that's news to me. If they have, anybody else in Facebook land confirm what Graham's just said? Ian Noble and Ian
I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not close enough to this. I'll see a little bit on Twitter maybe about contracts, but I've got faith in the club. I think the management is pretty sound. Parrish knows what he's doing, doesn't he? He knows what he's about. So I can't imagine that any player we want to keep, we would allow it to go to the 11th hour and allow them to start talking to other clubs. I can't believe that would happen. But there again, I'm always an internal optimist when it comes to Palace. Red and blue tinted specs, mate. So.
Ian Noble, before I come to you, I've got one quick question for you on the same subject. Could there be any correlation into the fact that all these contracts are being allowed to expire because the managers has been expiring on the same date?
No.
Because Roy Hodgson signed a 1-year deal extension, which takes
got nothing to do with it. Sure, that's got nothing to do with it.
Well, Ian Lyons, your thoughts?
I think it's a bit of a conspiracy. I can understand why people would ask that and see that in it, but I'm inclined to agree with young Mr. Noble in that Steve Parrish is the Sorloth debacle apart. Steve Parrish tends to know 90-95% of the time what he's doing with regards to deals and contracts. Well, and I also agree with Grant is that when you look at the wages that a lot of those people are on, it'd be interesting to see, what the total wages for a lot of those, combined. I'm sure that will play a very, very not insignificant part in the decision making. You drop Max Meyer, Wickham, Benteke, and automatically you're $250,000 in the green, aren't you? As a result, and then you've got to think of the players. If we follow this process of looking for young English talent or young British talent, Scott Banks is doing really well. It'll be interesting to see if he then makes a step up over the next 6 months, and if we start seeing the academy, which we might talk about later. Now it's got category 1 status and the kids are doing really well, beating the likes of Chelsea and Leicester and, all the teams that, they weren't necessarily expecting to beat. Maybe the answer is, to look internally and to go that route. We are paying a lot of money Sacco is another one, for very little on the pitch.
Yeah, good point. I mean, there is definitely some conflicting information out there. Graham Daniels has come back to me and said, yes, it's confirmed online. And so has Nigel Crouch has come back to me. He said, I've just looked it up. Jeffrey Schlupp is still showing June 21, which confirms with what I've already looked at here. So interesting. There's obviously there must be talks going on with at least 3 or 4 of those players. And just this will grow as we go through the season now. Okay. And it's something that as a Palace fan base, we need to keep close to it and make sure, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, everybody at Red and Blue Review will be monitoring those very, very carefully. Make no mistake. Boys, any last thoughts from you before I wrap up for the week?
Yeah, let me come in. I've had a message while I've been online from the real panel.
Hey,
the
boy.
The real panel. He's looking ahead already. Obviously, to Friday evening. If we win at Wolves on Friday, 13 points after 7 games, will be the best ever point start we've ever had to a Premier League season, beating our best start when we got 12 points in 2015-16. It would also be a 4th win out of 7 games, which we've only done once before in that 2015-16 season. And it would only be the 3rd time we've won 3 of the opening 4 Premier League away games, which we did in 2 seasons previously, that 15-16 season and again in 97-98. So, real panel, thank you for your stats. Keep the good omens coming on Twitter. We look forward to that next Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, just following up from what Ian's just read out there. Okay, I know who he's talking about. A real panel on Twitter is his name, but we know who he is in real life. Don't we, gentlemen? We go to lots of away games with him. The guy is a walking Crystal Palace encyclopedia, and I trust everything that he writes down and sends to us. And he sends to me on a regular basis as well. So thank you, Paul. I hope you're well, buddy. And you're keeping safe. Ian Lyons, any last thoughts from you?
No, great stats, by the way. That's fantastic. I mean, we just need to keep on going, don't we? To keep on going. It's good, as I said, the academy seems to be doing all right. Yeah. We are winning. The squad strength, the strength in depth is looking good. It's all positive. It's all positive, isn't it? Which is good. It's nice to do shows with a positive bent, even though we might be a little critical at times. Playing devil's advocate and that, but we're going in the right direction, which is good.
And Tony Nichols on the chat has just said, don't tempt fate, Wolves will be strong. Grant, any last thoughts from you before I quickly ask you for all of your score predictions for next Friday?
Wolves is going to be tough. It is going to be tough, Nick. I was going to ask a question earlier. I want to do a quick straw poll to you guys. We've got a decent squad, yeah, but we don't have anybody who can put the ball in the net. So if we had a striker who could actually finish for us, where in the league would we be at the end of the season? Not the current setup, but if we had someone, if we had a Vardy, for instance, who has actually put Leicester 1-0 up tonight against Arsenal.
Oh, he isn't. He didn't play.
It's Vardy on the 80th minute.
Oh, he must have come off the bench then.
Anyway, back to the question.
Right. If we had a striker that scored 20 goals,
yeah,
I think that's what you're trying to say. Because I think Batshuayi is a good striker. If we had a striker that scored 20 goals, which means we're providing service to him in the first place, I think we would be in the top 10.
I'll answer as well. I agree with the Hood in the chat. Lee Lockwood has just said he thinks we could finish 7th, and I think that's about right. Mr. Noble.
I think, I was chatting to a Wolves mate on Twitter at the end of last season. He said the only difference between you and us is Jimenez. And I think he's right. If we had Raul Jimenez at Crystal Palace, who knows where the goal is, you see his goal today, what a strike that was. Now, that's a real striker's goal. If we had a player like that in our side, we would finish top 6, 7th. That kind of thing.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen in Facebook land, steady numbers all evening this evening. I would like to know, what do you predict the score to be on Friday night? Okay, even after the show's finished, put them in there now. I'm going to go back and read every single comment in there. Grant, you popped off. Ian Noble, Ian Lyons, as always, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen in Facebook land, don't forget to watch out for Phil Potts player predictions this week that will have to be early because it's a Friday kickoff. So I'm going to have to get that done and out and broadcast. Thanks to Ian's help, for probably on Wednesday. I will try and get.
Give me a call. I'll tell you what to say.
Okay, mate, no problem at all. So look out for Phil Potts player predictions. Hopefully it's not too windy and my tripod falls over like it did last week. Okay. On behalf of everybody at Red and Blue Review, thank you to all the contributors who are on screen now. On behalf of Lucy, Ian, Grant and myself, and Jel Holyoke. Jel will be back shortly. He's just not very well. Please put your comments in the chat below. Ian Lyons, you're going to say something quickly? Like the video. Please. If you haven't
Makes
liked,
a big difference.
if you haven't liked the show tonight, please like it, share it, do whatever you like with it, and watch out for the podcast, which will be out to you later. On behalf of myself, your host, Nick Philpott, God bless. Stay safe. Wear your damn face masks. I'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody, and good night.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Cheers.